I'm Jeanette Chia, and this is Making It in Melbourne. My guest today is Nick La, the co-founder of WePloy. They're an on-demand recruitment platform matching employers with talent, but doing it a little bit differently, taking out names, ages, genders, so that people are really getting the talent that they actually need. Nick is Australian-born, the son of Vietnamese migrants, and he returned to Australia after a stint in Hong Kong to solve a problem that he and his co-founders observed. I just loved hearing Nick's stories of, in the pre-AI age, being incredibly scrappy, building off spreadsheets, hustling around university campuses, and now he's on the other side of that journey, sitting as an investor and bringing a truly empathetic founder lens to his work. This is how Nick La is making it in Melbourne. My guest today is Nick La, co-founder of WePloy. Yep. Thanks for being here today, Nick.
Thanks for having me.
Now, we will get to WePloy in just a little bit, but I want to start with the fact that you are the co-founder of a successful company. You now sit on the board of that company. You work at a venture capital firm. But yet, when you first moved to Australia, you couldn't get a job.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Tell me what happened there.
It was, I think people think I was a little bit overqualified, didn't have the experience in Australia. So my whole background is I left Australia to go back to Hong Kong. It's where I first started my first agency, Liquid Ambience, which is a food and beverage agency. We did that for 7 years. We own a couple of portfolio companies in there. And then I got married, came back here, and it was the whole thing, overqualified, we can't find something that kind of fits for you. Went through the whole recruitment spiel, and then was told by people that, hey, it's going to be really hard to find you a job. So that's probably where the idea spun on with WePloy. But before it was WePloy, it was actually a company called Cutting Edge Group, which was a hospitality agency hiring for SMB businesses. Right.
So we've already had a couple of evolutions before we even got to WePloy itself.
Yeah.
Can I come back a little bit to your personal background? So I guess even coming into the concept of moving from Hong Kong to Australia after working in Hong Kong, getting married, etc. What was your upbringing and background?
Went to school. My parents weren't very entrepreneurial. My mum was okay. Actually, she had a couple of businesses. Hairdressing. She was the owner of the salon, pretty much. She was an accountant by background. But the one thing she always instilled with us was, if you believe in it, you can do it. So when I said, hey, I want to go to a country that I've never been to, I can't speak the language, I've got $800 in my pocket, what do you think? She's like, yeah, go do it.
Nice. Yeah. And so you'd already started your first business in Hong Kong, and you said it was the first of its kind in Asia. It was a beverage consultancy, is that right?
Yeah.
What did those 7 years of experience building that consultancy give you?
It gave me a lot of confidence that, you can do things without experience as long as you're willing to give it a shot. People build businesses, obviously. And through that process, it was hospitality. You get to meet all different peoples of background. Because Hong Kong is such a financial hub, you tend to meet people from New York, London, Canada, all over the world actually, and you get to learn how they live and how they view business as well.
And then I guess when we're thinking about, how that then connects to what you started with WePloy, you've identified some kind of problem here, a little bit to do with your own experience with hiring and a little bit to do with what's going on in the hospitality space. What was that all about?
Well, it's the one thing that was very similar or unique was when I was in Asia, a lot of the people that lived there had Chinese names, and then they'll have an English name. And then when I came back here, even myself, I was born with a Vietnamese name. It wasn't Nick. But it was much easier for people to call me Nick than Long Tan La. It's so much easier on the tongue. And we noticed that as well when we first started WePloy. We had these really long names, and we realized, most recruiters aren't even looking at it. And they're not giving these people an opportunity. So we said, why don't we just remove that unconscious bias, remove names, ages, sex, and it was just all about competencies. So when you're actually looking at a candidate, you are just actually only looking at the competencies.
So you identified the fact that people were missing out on awesome talent, and I guess the hidden talent pool, so to speak.
Correct.
Do you think that that's changed at the moment, or do you think it's still a persistent problem?
I don't know. Like honestly, I think it's getting better, but I think it's still there. You know, there's reasons why there's people like us still trying to push the boundaries, trying to make a change. I'm not saying everyone's racist or biased, but like it's not like predominantly out there yet. You know, I guess like everyone needs to just change and keep on pushing. It'll get better. We're in Australia, so I do believe like it is the land of opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like every single person that makes a push towards change and makes a good decision helps to evolve that. Now, when I think about this hidden talent pool, I often talk about it as like unlocking captive talent. You know, it's there. It's just the opportunity is not evenly distributed. I'm curious about how you identified and attracted your first few candidates, because you're a business that no one's heard of before. And just for context for the listeners, we're sitting at RMIT University in the studio.
Yeah.
You had a story about wandering around on this campus doing something a bit creative, I'll say, to get your first few candidates. Tell me about that.
It's a two-way marketplace, right? So you need jobs and you need candidates. Just so when we started, we didn't have money, we couldn't advertise, and we got to figure out, like, we had jobs. We actually had friends that, hey, you know, we're willing to give you guys a chance. We just need candidates, good candidates too. So we put on our WePloy t-shirts and we actually walked around this campus offering students jobs.
What kind of jobs were you hiring for?
It was admin support, legal support, finance support, anything we could touch, we would do it, because we weren't trying to really get real experienced people. But what we did know was a lot of the students or a lot of the candidates we had the I can do attitude, and they can probably run a VLOOKUP better than most of us. So they weren't scared of working hard. It was more getting an opportunity. It's that wedge into that job, right? And so that's how we were selling ourselves.
And do you think that there were certain segments of candidates that you were finding were attracted to WePloy more than others?
Yeah, we definitely saw that immediately. We saw a lot of the international students that wanted to stay in Australia. Like they hustled to get the job, and they didn't treat the job like a 9-to-5 job. They were trying to excel at the job to get a full-time job, to stay in Australia, you know, and they were very proud to whatever job they got. And then we saw like the local talent. They were like, oh, you know, if I don't get this job, like there's probably something else there for them. So we saw this hidden pool that we had people that came over here that were either already accountants or they've already worked in that sector already, running billion-dollar contracts, and they just couldn't get a job because it was just their name, or people just didn't have the time. It could be just the way they spoke, you know what I mean? And so we saw like a really big opportunity there.
So we're talking, I mean, if there's one thing that will be consistently true is that international students will hustle for their places. So we're attracting international students, we're attracting maybe skilled migrants who aren't getting the chances. I'm curious about the other side of the marketplace, so the actual employers. Did you find any kind of resistance to them hiring people who they didn't know what their, I guess, demographic profiles were? And how did you get around that?
It was actually quite easily for us because DIE was around removing unconscious bias around. There was all these buzzwords. So when we actually met with like HR leaders or thought leaders, we said like, you know, how about we just remove the middleman and you get to pick the candidate yourself. You know, you won't see their name. You just see what their experience is, and you can make an opinion. And, you know, we'll pay for their visa checks. We'll pay for everything. We'll put our money where our mouth is for them. And then if they don't do a good job, you don't have to pay them. We'll pay them. So that's how we actually got in with everyone. Everyone's like, okay, well, these guys are actually trying to do something good and trying to create opportunity where opportunity didn't exist. And we kind of coined that when we first started.
That's a really bold move to actually put your money behind anonymous candidates. And what did it mean for your team to actually kind of like back yourself, back the candidates, and put your own money on the line?
So we inadvertently built a community by accident, right? We really just want to, through our experience and our personal experience as well, along the way somewhere, one of us would have experienced like bias or being treated a little bit differently. So we wanted to see how we can hone that, make the employment experience or the journey much more pleasant. Especially like we had like a ton of candidates that came here, and like we were like literally there. You talked about the different environments, like you've got your work, you've got your home, and then it was kind of like WePloy, like, hey, we've got this opportunity for you, and we genuinely did care. So we had people coming to our events just supporting us, just saying, hey, like, you know, you should go talk to Nick and Tony and Vince. They got me a job 6 months ago. Now I'm working at this great firm, you know.
So good, that word of mouth and I think community building is now such a common way of scaling and growing businesses, but I think that was you were an early version of that.
Yeah.
For sure. One of my favourite stories about the early days of WePloy is securing that early investment. And I understand that there was something about jumping on a plane. So can you talk us through what kind of, what happened there and what happened next?
So at the time I had a restaurant, and the idea about WePloy actually came from my co-founder, Tony. He had some wireframes, and, you know, I was like, look, if you want to do it, like, I'll drop everything and we'll go all in. And then I brought in our third co-founder, Vince, which is a high school friend of mine. He got our first cornerstone investor, which he kind of liked the idea at the restaurant. We kind of invited him to the restaurant, and we end up like served the food really slowly, and then we end up like you know, pitching to him there, and he was like, okay guys, like, you know, really just wanted to eat the food. So my co-founder Vince found out his flight the next day and booked a ticket, but they were like one seat away, and there was a gentleman in between him. So he's like, I got to get this done. So he started pitching over the guy, and because the guy wouldn't move. So and he's like, screw it, like I'm just gonna keep on pitching. And by the end of it, the guy goes like, hey, look, you know, can I invest as well? So he won him over. And then we got the phone call. I still remember I was living in Berwick, like around 11 o'clock at night, and he's like, guys, it's done. We've secured the investment. And we were like, for how much? And he goes, don't worry about that. And we're like, you know, look, okay, let's just focus on what matters. We've got investment now, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how long was the plane flight?
It was like a 9-hour flight.
So most people are like, I'm going to watch 2 or 3 movies, and your co-founder's like, no, you're listening to me for 9 hours. That's fair enough.
He was not going to let him leave, and he said yes. So like we do believe, and I think he's admitted a couple of times now that he beat him down for that investment. He goes like, you know, if these guys are willing to fight that hard for my capital and for their vision, then, you know, like they're the right guys.
Now, I want to know about, you talked a lot about the impact that you were proud of making with WePloy and helping people get great jobs. Do you have a concrete example of the kind of difference it's made to a particular person, something that really stuck with you?
We had this candidate, I won't say her name, but essentially she was a contract worker running like $1 billion portfolio in, I think it was Dubai. And when she came over here, it was with a large organization, and she couldn't get the job. She actually went to them directly. And then she went through our platform. This was like super, super early. And then we deployed her to that company. And then we got a phone call like within half an hour. And the line manager gave us a call, and I still remember it because they were like, where did you find this candidate? Like, it's amazing. Like, she's so good. And we told them the secret, like you actually had her, but the recruiter just never gave her the time.
Wow.
And they were shocked. And so then they were like, oh, okay, cool. We need to open up like how we look at talent and source talent.
And so by doing that, not only did you get someone an amazing job, but you also helped a company realise that their internal processes might require a little bit of examination.
Yeah.
Nice one. Good impact. Good impact. Now, you have now, I guess, lived the founder journey where you've moved to the board of your own company.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're actually now sitting on the other side of the investment table, working with Empress Capital as a VC. Can you tell me about that sort of jump? Like what psychologically had to happen for you to make that decision and change? And then how's it felt?
It feels good. It feels good. It feels good that, like, you know, the 7 or 8 years that I was WePloy, like, you know, you do BAU, then you go around, then you got to find capital when you want to grow again. And, you meet so many people, people, let's have a second meeting, let's have a third meeting. And a lot of the time, 9 out of 10 times, it doesn't eventuate to anything, right? So I've taken those learnings to Empress Capital, and we work in a very different manner. We get fast to no's, and if we want to say yes, then we say yes pretty quickly. We try to save time from the founders, and from our experience, because everyone are founders actually at Empress Capitals. They've all had their exits. So we look at it from a founder's lens. So when we're meeting early stage founders, we're very empathetic. So we don't just look at them as a piece of paper with numbers and traction and how exciting it is. At early stage, you're really only looking at two things. You're looking at the people and the problem, right? And the rest is kind of like a gamble or like a big bet. So if the team has a tech person, a salesperson, and the person that knows the problem, and the problem is big enough, then most likely we will take a punt on them.
Now that you've, inverted commas, made it with a successful company and now your new roles, is there anything that you still feel like you have to fake it till you make it? Is there anything that you're still fronting about?
I always try to remember why I started these things or why I got into entrepreneurship and why I wanted to help people. That makes it a little bit easier. I try not to be the smartest person in the room. I try to really help where I can. I think that's quite important. And talking nonsense to people, you're not helping anyone, right? So you don't have to be the smartest person or the biggest person in the room. Be sincere and empathetic, I think, is the best way, especially with Empress Capital, early stage, the one commodity you can't take back or get back is time. So don't waste people's time if you're not sincere about it.
I think that's a really good observation, I guess, that only a founder would maybe be able to bring to the investment side of the table. And when you actually do speak to these early stage founders now and you've been through their journey, do you have a particular piece of wisdom that you would like to give them from what you've learned?
Before you want to take on capital or take on investment, just remember what that really means. It's everyone celebrates when they get that capital, it's a big win. You're actually taking up a lot of responsibilities. You're taking up like a shareholder into your business, and then you have to respect that capital as well. So I think that's really important as well. So I always tell people, if you don't need to get the investment, probably steer away from it. If there's other ways that you can get to product market fit, get some paying customers, just prove the concept, or the market, then start there. I see it a lot where, hey, let's think of an idea and let's see who would invest. That's probably the wrong way of thinking about it. I was told you can build video games with some pieces and a piece of dice and just check if it's fun, if it's fun to play. Think outside the box, you know what I mean? I think that's probably my advice to people, yeah.
What are you seeing with the impact of AI onto the new generation of startups that are coming through?
Yeah, people are moving fast, phenomenally fast. Something that we could do in 6 months, they're doing in days, hours now.
Incredible.
That's incredible, right? So I think there's no technical moat anymore. Those days are gone. I think IP is just going to be a buzzword. I don't think even people having an issue with, solo founder is a thing. You see it right now. There's people out there, using 20 grand in cash, running a $1.8 billion business. It's phenomenal, right? So I think the way we have to think about it as well is you're betting on the problem and you're betting on the person or the team, pretty much, yeah. Yeah,
because the technical moat has completely disappeared. Now, is there something that you're working on in this space that you might want to give us a bit of a preview about? Is there something coming up next for you?
Yeah. We've been in stealth mode. We've been working on a company called HR Hero. In Australia, you've got compliance regarding putting job descriptions and making sure it's compliant. So essentially it does two things only. You upload a job description, it tells you if it's compliant or not. And the other thing, it tells you what the wage or salary that you're supposed to pay. A lot of what I found out is a lot of recruiters don't know what they're supposed to pay, or a lot of candidates don't know what they're supposed to be getting paid compliantly. So that opened up penalties, and that was literally my job at WePloy at one point.
Now, I got to ask you, because we are here making it in Melbourne, as someone from a diverse background, with migrant parent background, what is it about Melbourne that you're finding is a good place to do business?
I think not just even Melbourne, but I think all of Australia as well. But uniquely Melbourne, we were able to go to communities, startup events as well, meet people like yourself, which is really fostering that space, that startup space as well, right? So we've got also the R&D incentive that really helps you to kind of help you from bootstrapping and really stretching that capital a long way. And then obviously you can always work at any kind of cafe with the best food, best drinks, anywhere in any alleyway you go to, there's probably like a good place. Yeah.
That's so true. You've got to be well hydrated, well fed.
Yeah.
And then there's lots of options to work and get funded. So Nicola, co-founder WePloy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
That was Nicola, the co-founder of WePloy. I just love how Nick has done so many different things, from opening a bar to starting an agency, running WePloy, and now he's on the other side of the table, helping to support new founders. And we should probably keep our eyes peeled for his next hustle. I'm Jeanette Chia. I've been building my business in Melbourne for 9 years, and hearing the stories of entrepreneurs is one of the best parts of my job. On the next episode of Making It in Melbourne, I'll be joined by Sri Venkatesan, the co-founder of Next XR Group. They're an amazing company with 50 employees, fully bootstrapped, helping to upskill the next generation with virtual reality and augmented reality content. Listen to it wherever you get your podcasts.